So, so tonight we have with us Courtney Bunch, and Courtney is a producer for Publix supermarkets in Lakeland, Florida. That's our headquarters there. But Courtney and I go way back. We were just talking earlier about we got a tattoo 27, how you're 40, 23. So yeah, 17 years ago, something
Mm.
like that. 17 years ago, we got a tattoo together in the middle of Alabama, in the middle on a show called My Big Fat Redneck Wedding. I think that was the show.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
redneck wedding on CMT.
Yeah,
Mhm.
big redneck wedding. So yeah, we and I got home and I have a white tattoo on my arm. And we got home and my wife was like, "You needed to be setting an example for those young kids out there." And I was like, "I did. I set the example that you're never too old to go out and have a lot of fun." So we've had a blast over the years. Courtney is one of my favorite people to work with out of all time, and we've worked through a couple different production companies together. So Courtney, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, how you got started, when you got started, what kind of your first jobs were and how you kind of worked your way up the ladder here.
Okie doke. This year's 20 years exactly that I started in the industry. And I've been very, very lucky that in those 20 years, I think I maybe have been out of work for 6 months total. Um, but I kind of learned early on that if you learn multiple things, that's kind of how you stay on. And so I just kind of started learning everything from the very beginning. So I almost went to Full Sail actually. I was gonna go for either live show production or I think it was recording arts back then. This was like 20 years ago. So I took the tour from behind the scenes for recording arts, and while I was there, like something popped up, and they took us around to actually TV production. And I was like, wait, hold a second, this is pretty cool. Maybe I'll start dabbling into this. So then my senior year, I started doing TV production classes at the local college, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go this direction. So I ended up at Valencia Film School, did that.
With
And
Ralph,
Ralph
treat,
Clemente,
treat yourself, Ralph.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. It was a really good experience, obviously. It was amazing. Um, they only do 40 people in the class, and by the end, you barely have half of that because they make you load 10Ks on the roof of the gym and, you know, make you cry. They make a lot of people cry. I probably not like that anymore. This was 20 years ago. But my first job ever was an overnight transcription because we didn't have Take Five or all these transcription companies now you can just send it to. You had to do it all manually. So it was overnight transcribing for a company called Pink Sinkers Productions, who at the time was at the Universal Backlots. Um, and they were doing big shows for MTV, VH1, basically the whole Viacom family. So my first show ever was Hogan Knows Best season 2, which Randy Baker was the cam up on. So I got to watch endless hours of just raw footage, which it's not the best job, but watching all of that behind the scenes, you get to see actually so much more and learn. So I learned so much overnight transcribing. People were like, I hate it, I don't want to do it. People were leaving, and I was fascinated because I could watch you guys and see like how you talk to each other, like giving each other camera signals like from across the room so you know what shots each other had. And just because not only could I hear the talent and everything they were saying, I could hear everything that you guys were saying on your walkies to each other. So you just start learning all the production chatter. um, so I think I did that for a whole year
Wow,
overnight.
it's a long time to
It was
transcribe.
a
Yeah.
long time. And then from there, I think I just rolled into a general PA during the day. So I got out of the dark. Um, and I think, I can't remember now. Sorry, it's been 20 years. I think I started doing post deliverables. So doing all the releases that come in from the field, music cues, show logs, all the legal type stuff on the back end of a TV show, which I really liked doing that. I really liked the logistical of it, and I liked making sure everything on screen. It's a big puzzle and a mystery. When you see something in the background, the artwork, and someone's like, "We need that cleared," and you're like, "Okay, how do I find it? What is it? Who does it
Yeah.
belong to? How do I clear it?" Um,
So I don't think most people understand the importance of deliverables for television shows, how important those are. And so that's one of the things that we don't really teach a whole lot of. In the producing class, we go through deliverables, but that's a really important asset that, most people just don't even think about. So
yeah, because if you don't know what goes on in the post end. And if you don't deliver all your deliverables and everything's cleared and everything's legit, I mean, you either don't get paid for the show or you can't use it. You have to re-edit, you get to reshoot. It costs a whole bunch more money, which is never good. So huge part of any production is the back end, just the legal stuff, knowing what you can use and what clearances you need for each thing. And now it's so much more. Before it was a lot easier, but now you have out of house and YouTube, and it's a lot to
Right.
keep track
Yeah,
of for
but
sure.
but that's the traditional office PA production path. You start as,
Yep. I started
transcribing and then you go into deliverables and yeah.
mm-hmm. And then from there, I think I got put on the casting team. So I got all the way put in the front end of a show. So I actually got to cast in that show that we were on. My Big Redneck Wedding on CMT was the very first show I ever cast for. And I ended up casting every single season and every single spinoff after that. I ended up leading all the casting teams. I loved casting. I loved going out and finding talent.
And
It
you
was
guys traveled all over the place, right?
traveled everywhere because I mean, this was actually before like social media. So we would like send faxes to radio stations to try to get the word out. We would go to events. Yeah, it was a lot of cold calling, which I know is scary now, but just all day long. Obviously got easier over time as the show got more popular and people could just send in. But yeah, being able to talk to people and just getting a feel right away to know if you think they're going to be good on camera, just of how they kind of talk to you. Like, yeah, it was good. And then what the best part was is going out and doing test tapes on them. So that's I think the first time I actually started touching camera and gear was being able to go out and shoot test tapes. They're like, here, take this little camera and go see how they are and bring it back. And I think that was the first time I'd actually started playing with a camera for a little bit, and it was terrible. It was a Sony Z1, and I don't remember if it was you or maybe Chris McD, but somebody says you just need to take the camera home and just sit with it. Just put it in your lap while you're watching TV and just learn every single button. Like, know that this is, where your iris is, and this is where your ND is, and this is the focus and the zoom, and this is all your settings 1, 2, and 3, and just learn it. So that way, if you were in the dark room, you could totally operate this camera, no problem.
That's,
That way, you're not
I,
ever
I
having to
still
look
tell
at it.
I still tell my students that every month,
Yeah.
Anytime you're watching TV, have the camera in front of you. You just got to become intimate with the camera is what I tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could spend forever going through a menu, like knowing, but if you memorize that, like, hey, 2 clicks and one scroll, I'm where I need to be,
Yeah.
it just saves a lot of time and headache. Um, and
But
then from
that's a little bit different. You learn the technical side, and that's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you because you're different from a lot of producers who, never get to touch equipment.
yeah, because from there, I always thought like the camera was so cool, and I was like, oh, I want to do camera. But I did learn early on that I'm too short. I'm 5'1" to be a camera person. All the angles are bad, so it just wasn't meant to be.
Richie
Um,
Benalis.
that's true. But he's steady cam, so he can like raise it up a little bit. I almost had to call him this week actually and be like, "Are you still steady cam up? I'm in a crunch." But we fixed it. We figured it out with the Ronin and the dolly. But yeah, so from there, I was like, I want to do gear, and I transitioned to field PA. So I got to go out in the field and run around, get those releases that I knew I needed for my post deliverable. So I was very on top of that. And then from there, I think I just watching you guys, and I was just always constantly asking questions, constantly like, what's this do? What's that do? That you guys just kind of bumped me up to an AC after a while. I don't really remember how I ended up
Yeah.
there, but just
You
lugging tripods across places and
yeah, you were one of the best ACs I've ever worked with. Yeah, yeah.
oh my goodness. Yeah, that's the thing is you just have to learn the camera and all the things and what your ops like and just always be there. And I see it now today, like even on this production, like I was like, where's your AC? Like you've been holding this camera for, I don't know, 2 hours straight for this scene. Like somebody come and take this man's camera. Like I'll take it for you. Like
Yeah.
you don't realize how hard that is on your body. I mean, just to take it even for a second. Yeah, so I liked acing. I liked it a lot. But I knew I wasn't going to go up. in that position. Like I knew that I wasn't eventually going to be a camera operator. So I think from there, after doing that for a few years, and I ended up running the equipment room at some point. I'm not sure
Mhm.
how that happened, but I ran Pink Sneakers' whole equipment room for a long time, or at least a year, I want to say. So I got to learn everything, all the lights, all the lighting we use, gear check in, check out. I can build a whole camera package. I know how to paint a camera, to have someone come in and engineer and do a look for a camera. I don't even know if people do that anymore. But yeah, it was good. I lost my
And then
train.
you kind of got bumped into like coordinating and production management.
Yeah, yeah. So after a few years of acing, and I think I was, kind of good with gear, I kind of was like, I'm going to get back and go back to the office route. And I think I started getting heavy into just production coordinating from there and deliverables. I did that for a long time. But I did for a long time, I did do because I had learned every step casting. And then I would go out in the field, do the AC, come back to deliverables. I mean, I stayed on shows for years and years and years just
Right.
because I knew every single position. Like I learned all the positions. So I would just stay on, I would just hop from one thing to the next where other people were only there for their one job and then they left. And I didn't see them again for a whole nother year until you came back.
Hmm.
So I think that was the best part of my career of just learning so many different positions. Because I was able to stay on jobs for a very, very long time. Hmm.
And then so you did and then you jumped to a company called back then it was called Spectrum Productions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was called Spectrum until Bright House Cable Company decided to change their name to Spectrum. And then we had to change our name because it was a big, huge deal. Yeah, so in 2012, after like 7-ish years with Pink Sneakers on and off, and I did some other shows in Miami back and forth. I moved and that was all freelance. So my first 7 years, I was freelance, but I worked pretty much the whole time. And by that time, I was like getting my later 20s, and I was able to find a staff AP job, which is very rare. I couldn't believe that they had one open. So I ended up taking that job at Spectrum, which is now called Remedy Television and branded. And they also have a commercial side called Circa 89. They've kind of split in the two.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's where we connected back together.
Yeah, I
And
started doing Spectrum shows. Yeah.
yeah, we started doing shows there. And I think there I was heavy, mostly just coordinating. So at that point, I
Yeah.
would basically hire all the crew. I was kind of playing like half line producer, half production manager. So I get everybody onboarded. I learned how to do all the payroll paperworks, deal memos, W-9s, or however we were going to bill them, a W-2 or I-9. Send out all their deal memos, draft them up, get everybody onboarded. Then I would do payroll every week. And then, of course, I'd book all your guys' travel, set up all the hotels, their airplanes, cars, get everybody there. And then just basic setting up of the field office. So I'd go down there every season wherever we were, set up the office, train everybody for that show, train the coordinator, the office PAs, how to run the show, and then eventually I would leave. But actually, that's how I started DITing. Now to come think of it, that was like the one thing I never really got big into was the post technical side until about 2012, and I don't remember how that even happened. I think we just needed somebody and I just started dumping all the media. I believe we were shooting on XD cams at that time. um, so yeah, so then I started DITing and I actually did that on a lot of shows for a very long time. But again, I like it because it's not so technical, it's more logistical, right? It's like keeping everything organized and backed up and renaming and proxies and copying and um,
Media management. Yep.
yeah, media management. I like it. I like it a lot. And then syncing it or multi-clipping it or however far you're going to go with it. And that was a lot because we were rolling at least 4 main cameras. We had a zillion GoPros,
GoPros.
audio. We had DSLRs, I think, on the wall. I don't remember how many cameras there were. There were a lot.
Yeah. So in most episodic shows like that, you have 4 or 5 cameras, 3 to 5 usually, and then you have multitude of GoPros, that you've got mounted, and then you've got specialty cameras, and you're just recording all kinds of stuff. So, and then all the audio is being recorded separately to discs as well. So all that stuff has to come into post, and somebody has to organize it, and that's what the DIT is really doing on the set.
Yep. So I did that for a long time. I still DIT every now and then when I need to. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna book a DIT," and I was like, "Really? Do we really need one?" I'm like, just give me your card. It's fine. I got it. No big deal.
I always say that DIT is one of the most important jobs on a set, and they always tend to bring in new people to try to teach them how to do DITs while they're doing. And
Mhm.
I've worked on shows where DIT has lost an entire day of production, accidentally erased the disc or something. And yeah, people that we know that I won't name names, but people that we know. I've been on two shows where the entire day has been wasted. So it's a very important. And I always get on my soapbox about DITs and say, look, this is probably perhaps one of the most important jobs you can have. Yeah.
Yes, it
And
is
then
so.
how'd you make that transition into producing?
Um, I'm not really sure at what point that happened. Hmm. Well, for when I was at Spectrum, I was their coordinating producer. Um, and then I just kind of, I guess it was really more in Publix when I got to Publix here
Yeah.
now
So
after
let's
the,
talk about that. So you had a health scare kind of in between those two things.
yeah, like late 2022, I was maxed out. As everybody knows, the COVID happened, production shut down. It was really, really terrible. So in 2020, I actually stayed working. We were on a vet show in Columbus, Ohio, and we were just up and running. And so a lot of people got let go. And then when it kind of geared back up again, it just they we just didn't rehire. Actually, there was nobody to rehire. Like
Yeah.
I remember saying, like, I don't want more money, don't pay me more, give me another body. And they couldn't give me anybody. Like the people were gone, they've moved on. We lost a lot of people in the industry. It's been hard to fill actually a lot of roles since then. So between 2020 and 2022, I was really booking it, really just full time all the time. And at one point, I think I had 5 shows going on at one time that I was all managing. And one of them was Gabe was on in Zambia. And
Yeah.
so I would literally work almost 24 hours because come midnight, my WhatsApp would be blowing up because the guys in Zambia would be up and be like, we need moisture or something for our cameras. And we broke this camera and we lost this and we need more replacements. And it was very, very tough. And yeah, I had a little bit of a mini stroke during that time. So that's when I decided that I probably had to end episodic television for a while and take a
Yeah.
break and do something a
And
little
so,
bit more slow pace.
So that's what most people don't realize is how hectic that goes. When you're on a show, and if you're doing one show, it's hectic. But when you're doing more than one show and juggling more than one show, it's like nonstop. And it just keeps going and going and going. As a freelance DP, I would come into a show and I would work for 3 months and then I'd be gone. I'd have a couple months off until my next show I went on. But there were shows that I would get on and they would just go and go and go and go and go. I've done a couple shows where I've done year-long runs of shows. So that just gets to be like a burnout city and you're just stressed. And it's like every day it's like get up and give it 1,000% and then, work 12 hours, and then be beaten, get up the next day and do that again. And so it takes a toll on your body. I'm up there now. And so all that stuff is catching up with me now. It's the same thing. So I'd like to talk about this because I don't think people realize they think, oh, it's got to be so glamorous to work on these television shows, and we kid about that all the time. The glamour of television, the glamour of television. Yeah, you're in some crappy little motel in the middle of Mississippi somewhere shooting, and you know. But it's the people are what really make it all worthwhile. Working with a great group of people really makes it worthwhile. But then you work with a lot of people who are just pain in the asses that just exasperate the whole problems that you have to deal with. And so on your end, you have to deal with that. My end, I was like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that. So, I
Well,
can
no,
walk away.
it really your attitude matters so much because when you're in the thick of it, I mean, you just can't. you just can't get turned negative because yeah, you're all in it. You all know it sucks together. You just
Yeah.
no, it all sucks together. You just have to get through it. And you have if you have that one person, there you're not going to come back because that's when you're in the thick of it and you're bonding. I mean, you create a bond with those people for life when you go through something
Yeah, I
like that with
feel that way about you. We spent years together working, and like, all those people that I went through all that stuff with, that they're bonded for life with us. And so that's they become you spend more time working with those people than you do your family. Really what it comes
oh
down to.
yeah, they are your family for
Yeah.
sure. And I all those people you trust with your life because you were usually in some kind of a dangerous situation with them. And I
So people don't realize we had to take CPR classes and we had to take gun safety classes and we did some crazy stuff that
bloodborne
we
pathogen classes.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing about episodic TV or whatever you're working on is every project is different, and you become that project.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've never had to deal with guns on set before until you get into that situation, and then you have to learn all about it, and you just kind of become part of that world, and you just get to learn a lot on these shows. Like, like the medical shows, like you don't realize like there's so much uh, legal paperwork on top of that, like HIPAA laws and things of that nature. But getting to go behind the scenes and seeing something like that and or living somebody's life, seeing their everyday life of what they go through, like
Yeah. I've
it's
had Dr. K say to me a couple times, "Would you like to spay this rabbit? You've seen this enough. You should be able to do this." I was like, I think I could do it.
well, talent's a whole nother deal because if
Yeah.
you don't adapt to them and get into their world, I mean, they could just go off the rails. And then, I mean, I exactly like we and one of our many many vet shows they brought in a show producer and the first thing that she was asked was do you have any animals and she said no, and this woman's face was like what are you doing here, like how are we gonna do this show, you don't even have an animal. And she threw a ferret at her like day two, like she took a ferret and she threw it at her just because she wasn't interested in like touching anything or like if you don't come into their world and pretend to be interested, like you're never
Right.
gonna get that bond and you're not gonna be able to form a good relationship and get what you want out of them. I mean, you know that like you have
And you
to
have to do that because you're with them, again, you're with them more than they're with their family. So you're
yeah
it's
you have to
about
be
that.
interested in even if you're not, I mean you have to fake
So
it till you
so
make it.
so as bad as the stroke was, the mini stroke, and you stepped away from that, I
Yeah.
remember reading a tweet from you going, I didn't realize how my life was so wrapped up in work and there was so much other things that I was missing. And that tweet really kind of struck me. It was like, yeah, she got it now. She's got it that there's more to life than just working and working, working and working. And so you took some time off, actually.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I took a small break. I knew that but I mean back to that, like think about how many funerals you've missed, how many weddings you missed, births you
Oh
missed
yeah.
because you just
Birthdays, yeah.
yeah, you miss a lot in life and I don't think you realize like the people around you like they want to see you, they want you in your life and you're just constantly letting them down. You're like I can't, I'm here, I'm there, they're like well let's just go out to eat dinner, you're like I can't, I'm working 12 hours, like even
Yeah.
though you're only going to do this for 8 or even more. And so it is hard on people, especially I've been in a ton of relationships where people are like oh you're with somebody else. I'm like come to the office, it's 10 p.m, I'm here if you want to
Um,
sit and
yeah,
watch me
come on down. Yeah.
care package, come on down. Like it is what it is. It's really hard. And yeah, that during that break, I constantly would have my phone, like, because fires are always happening. Like you're just as a producer, you're constantly putting out fires all day long. So like I'm tied to it. When I hear ding, I feel like I have to pick it up and look at it. And during that time, I think one day I put it on silent, and I think it took me 3 months to where I forgot I had a phone for a little bit. And I would be like, where is it? And I wouldn't get that panic feeling because if I saw my watch and it was like, hey, your phone, you left it in the next row over at Home Depot, I would lose my mind. I would be hysterical. I'd be like, oh my God, the world's on fire. But yeah, it was good to take a nice little break and
And
kind
then
of
you, and then you jumped into the corporate world. And so your our paths were a little bit different. I started in the corporate world. I was working for large corporations, Fortune 50 companies and stuff when I started out before I went to the networks and then got into episodic. And people used to talk to me all the time about why are you going back to corporate? Why are you still doing these corporate jobs when you do all these television shows? I'm like, it's such a different environment. It's so laid back, and they're everybody treats each other nicely, and they're thankful for the work that you do, and so and they pay. I was getting paid really well doing corporate videos, and I still do very well. I make more off of corporate jobs than I do off of episodic television stuff. So, but and that it's a different environment. But how do you like it? How did you find that transition?
It's been interesting. Um, am I 2 years in now? I want to say it was it was a weird change going from episodic, non-scripted, long form to now, very, very short form, a lot of vertical. It's been a whole new world. Because when you do reality or documentary type of shows, your budgets are very, very low. So the crew's a lot smaller. So you do wear so many different hats. Like I would PA and AC and be the audio person and be the coordinator. Like sometimes I'd have four roles. And now I come in to here and we have somebody to do every single little thing where sometimes I feel like I'm just like, do like there's too many people. Sometimes I'm like, why are there so many today I was like, there's too many people on this crew. Like we have, I don't even know how many. I'm just not
And
I'm
what's
not
and
used
what's
to
the
it.
problem with too many people in a crew? The more people you have, the slower you go. Everything takes forever. Yeah.
Yes. I know. I asked the grip guy, I'm like, did you have to take everything out of your truck? Like, why do we have six bins here? Like with every single C stand. He's like, I don't know what I'm gonna need. I'm like, I'd rather run down than tote this around this giant building all day. But that's just what they're used to. So the commercial
Yeah.
world, it's a lot slower. You get paid a lot more, I learned.
Yeah.
So probably should have figured it out sooner in my career than 20 years in, but that's okay.
But tell us about Publix. Tell us about where you're working right now.
Yeah, so Publix, I am one of five of their producers.
And
We kind of
Publix is a supermarket because we have students from all over the world.
oh yeah, it's a privately or employee owned supermarket in the southeast. I think we're in 8 states now,
One of
but
the largest supermarket chains in the United States. Mhm.
yeah, we're sitting just over 1,400 stores right now. Um, and we're all privately owned. So as it's not publicly traded. And so Mr. George, who founded it, he said every employee is going to be an owner. So a certain percent of your salary, they give it to you in stock. So
It's
after a few
great.
years, yeah, it's yours. You keep it forever. You have an option to buy more. So that is a huge benefit of working at Publix, definitely, is getting to be invested in being an owner because being an owner, you care more about,
Mhm.
you know, even if you see a piece of trash on the floor, like, when you walk into a store, you're like, I feel like I own a little piece of this, so I'm going to keep people just take care of it more. And I think
Mhm.
that's why Publix always seems a little bit nicer maybe than some other because people care more that work there.
Right.
Um, but they have an in-house, the marketing team is about 420-ish people. And then I'm in a sub department just called creative, and we're about 125-ish.
Wow.
And then in production from that, I want to say maybe 20-ish. So we're split into two. So we have an internal team that only does corporate communications. So they work strictly with the HR department. And so anything that stays internal only, there's one video producer, one editor that just goes out and shoots all that stuff. And we have one videographer. And then on the outward facing stuff, there's five producers, and each of us all have various lines of business that we work in. And they give us a campaign depending on what it is. And, the art director will be like, this is the channels that we need to come up with creative. They come up with it, they pitch it to me. They're like, this is what I want to do. And I say, great. And then I make it happen. Book a
Yeah.
photo shoot, video shoot.
So you're doing photo shoots, video shoots, social media. And usually they're probably doing wanting to do all those kind of in conjunction with each other.
Yeah, Publix is in a transition right now where we're trying to merge social media in different ways. So we It's the whole vertical thing. So we were putting social media into campaigns originally, which was mostly photo, um, and then we have a whole line of business for just social media, which I'm one of two producers for. And I guess it was just kind of getting a little bit confusing having them separate because it's if you're booking a photo shoot and video is very, very different. So it was hard to have both. So I think we're plucking out all video into campaigns and putting it back all
Right.
into just with the social media team because social media is changing so fast. Like Meta, Instagram, like they just changing like the little things of, how long you can run something or what the ratio is or the crops and having to have 30 art directors learn that. It's just a lot. So I think we're just going to focus all of it into one social media team so that way you just have a handful of art directors who
Right.
can keep up with all of the ever changing of the vertical world of social media.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that we're pushing. We're primarily, 16 by 9, but the big, discussions that we're having right now is how do we incorporate vertical media? Because all my big entertainment clients that I work with, like the parks and things like that, they always want everything shot 16 by 9, but also 9 by 16. So we've done that with various rigs, but the technology is changing and the way that people are absorbing that information is changing. There's a big movement that happened in China during COVID, actually called micro dramas. That was a huge. It's a $2 billion a year industry in China right now. And to put that in scale, the movie industry here in the United States is worth about 74 billion. So, but it's growing, and they're short 1 to 3 minute dramas that each one has a kind of a cliffhanger to it, and they tell multiple stories in them. And an episode is only 1 to 3 minutes long, but the season is 100 different episodes. So, and they shoot them with like small crews, 6 to 7 people, a director, a producer, a DP, AC, a couple lighting guys, and audio guy. That's it. And so that's like kind of infusing its way through Europe and right now, and in LA, that's kind of the big thing. We're seeing already that big companies like Disney are announcing that they're putting more campaigns because the people coming up now are looking at all their social media on, 9 by 16, and the technology is changing. There's a new technology called open gate technology that all the sensors of the new cameras are going to that are shooting like 3 by 2, and then you can crop it and post any way you want it, 16 by 9 or 9 by 16. We traditionally do more dual rigs where we have a
Mhm.
camera mounted on the pro camera, like a phone or a mirrorless camera on a pro phone, and we shoot that way. So we're really trying to push and kind of help our students understanding that more and more companies like yours are going in that direction because social media is such a big thing for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely caught my attention. So I actually just started taking courses. I actually started liking it. So I actually don't use social media very much on my own because I'm just so busy in production that,
Right.
you take all these photos you want to post and then you're too tired after work and you just never do it. So I started taking, Meta has courses that you can take for social media. So I started dabbling in that and I just got too busy, but I got through three of them and it's been really helpful and really interesting just to kind of learn that world. So hopefully I can finish that soon. Get back to that and finish it. It's
As
just a professional certificate you can take to
right.
relevant in it, but it's interesting. I mean, we shoot if I have to do something that's both, if it's the same creative, I'll just protect for 9 by 16, but
Right.
also 16 by 9 if it's like a big
Which
project, like YouTube pre-roll or something.
which the videographers love.
I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I tell the story and we talk about this all the time. I'm old enough that I was back in the day when we were shooting 4 by 3, and then 16 by 9 came in and they said shoot 16 by 9 but protect for 4 by 3. It's the same thing. We
Yep.
went through that whole phase. Now it's 9 by 16, which is a little different. So we have settings for all the cameras that they get on how to put up the bars in the viewfinder so they can see 9 by 16 and 1 by 1 and all the different medias. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting, how aspect ratios are making a big new, a resurgence in the industry again, and it's going to continue to change. So, what's a typical shoot like for you? I mean, how today, for example, you were on a shoot today, right?
Yes, I've been on a shoot for the past 3 days. one of my lines of business is talent acquisition, which is just the hiring team, trying to get people to come and learn about all the different departments. So it's actually my first time working on talent acquisition. I just took it over from somebody else. Um, but yeah, just this one was a big video corporate, because you're so used to doing like 15-second socials, or 30 seconds is usually our pre-rolls. So these were 2-minute videos, and I did two of them. One of them was based on manufacturing. So if you want a job in manufacturing, this is what you could possibly be doing. So we spent 2 days at our deli plant and dairy plant, just going around and kind of with a talent. But we
And
had
you
a
had did you have professional talent, or were you using both professional talent and management and workers from Publix?
both. So my professional, we cast it out. We did the whole thing, put out a casting call to various agents. And then we did callbacks. We gave them a couple lines to do their test tapes, and then we ended up doing callbacks, and we picked that way. So I think I got one of mine from Central Florida Talent Agency, and the other one came from Level out in Orlando. But I use like Level, Diamond, Marshall Talent out here in Tampa. Usually the ones, usually through them, I can get it pretty much anybody that I need. But yeah, for that one, I did main talent. But that one just needed so many extras, and there's everywhere we were was very specialized. And we have safety people and USDA people on site, and people who do CQA food safety, and people who are just there for regular safety. So a lot of stuff I had to just get extras and just have them, sign our release, because we can't bring people in and have them know how to operate
Sure.
mixers or whatever the case may be. So that was a mix of both, and we had a lot of people to go through. Um,
And how
to
big was the crew?
Oh, I wish I had it on me. I bought
But you're
lunch for
still
30 people every day, so the crew
do
was
what?
probably 20.
20. That's a big crew. That's a big crew. So that's
Mhm.
it. So the correlation between episodics and corporate communications is pretty much the same. You're doing casting, you're doing call sheets, you're doing, you got to feed the crew, you got to, everything is the same. Do you have in-house post-production?
We do. We have an AE, an editor, um, and it's good enough for like what we do. But sometimes on stuff that's a little bit more complicated, I'll send out for like online. Like if I need, like we can color correct, but we don't rotoscope there. So if I need
Hmm.
like just my cup green, I'll send it actually out to Circa 89 and have them do that. So we have a lot of vendors that we work with.
Hmm.
But for the most part, our online guy is just, I'm sorry, our editor is just so busy just with corporate communications alone, that our stuff that faces externally, he doesn't have a lot of time. But for this one, I booked him really, really early because I just knew my budget, wasn't going to be able to afford to have um, posts done at a house, knowing the director that we wanted to use, and DP and gear and things of that nature. So, but yeah, 20 people, it's a lot to drag around. I'm still getting used to it actually after 2 years. I'm like, oh man, it was like, you need, two ACs, I guess. So,
Right,
mhm.
right. So and again, like I did the other end. So when Darden Restaurant launched, started doing their videos, we did from the very first video they ever did through for like 6 years. I did Darden Restaurant stuff, and I mean, it was big crews, and we'd travel all over the United States. We'd fly in the corporate jets, and it was like we'd spend a month in some place doing the opening of a new restaurant or stuff. And it was a crew that they had the house, and and it was a crew of about 20 people. It was a big crew. So people don't realize that the corporate productions are really that big. They think corporate productions, though, it's one person and, they're working in some little stuffy office. So
No,
it's
and
a
they're
totally
usually
different thing.
big budgets,
Yeah.
they have a very healthy budget. So you can get directors and
Yeah.
DPs and all the fancy things.
My very first big corporate job, I worked for Harcourt Brace which was a big, largest textbook publisher in the world. They owned all the Sea Worlds. They were the fifth largest insurance company and like magazine. So they had more money than God, and they were part of the first hostile takeover try by Maxwell, who a British a publicist named Maxwell, whose daughter is in the press recently. What's her name? Elaine Maxwell? That's
Oh, yeah,
his
yeah.
daughter. Yeah.
Oh,
So he
yes.
So, but it was more money than they had. And we had state-of-the-art facilities, and it was like, we were way ahead of everybody else in the industry, and we were producing, we had 20 or 30 producers working at any given time and all kinds of shows going on. So it was a big production company, but it was all just corporate videos for, textbook publishers, and we did some stuff. That's how I met Schaefer. He was working at SeaWorld at the time, and we owned SeaWorld. So, but it was
Oh,
great. And, I worked for Harris for a number of years, which is a big government contractor. And so again, our crews were, we did war reenactments. And stuff. It was like a big productions, but just at a corporate level. So usually better budgets than we had doing episodic television. So so it's been a really pretty interesting career for you. You've had lots of different, things.
yeah.
What's your next step going to be?
Oh man, I don't. After these shooting these 3 days, and I have a shoot tomorrow and a shoot Monday and a shoot Tuesday, and I had to like I travel. Like, yeah, I'm not going to be sleeping for a couple of days. Sometimes you wonder if you're going to age out. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, ugh.
I did. Yeah. So yeah. So that's it. So we're about that time. I just have a couple more questions for you about if you were giving any advice to beginning students that were coming up through, what would you do? Like in the PA workshop we did, we did a whole thing where somebody did a thing about all the tools that you need as a PA that shouldn't show up on a set. And one of the big slides in that PA handbook is the best thing you can bring to a set is a good attitude because you have to work with these people for 12, 14 hours a day. So if your attitude sucks, nobody's going to want to work with you. So that's it. But what advice could you give to the people starting out that were kind of wanting to go up through that path of being a PA to an office PA to a, coordinator to a production manager to a producer?
Yeah, I think that when you're first a PA, um, it's hard to get jobs because you don't have experience, and really the biggest way, the best way to get jobs in the industry is just word of mouth. I mean, so even if, and as a PA, don't just be like with one person. Like, you need to talk to everybody, get to know everybody. Even if you don't get in in-depth conversations with them, just like make a connection with them on something,
Yeah,
because they could get you your next job. Like, they
right,
could, hop on a job and someone's like, "Oh, I need a PA," and it's like, I had this one that seemed okay, and that's how you're going to get your next job.
right.
So it's really just paying attention to every single person, even if you're not interested in audio or whatever. Like, go talk to the audio guy.
Know
Be
who the other guy is. Take him
Yeah,
a
like,
cup of coffee. Yeah,
just ask them. Be like, "Oh, what's this thing do?" That's the
yeah,
thing, is everybody it likes what they do. They want to usually teach. They're proud of what they do. If somebody asks and shows interest, I be think if somebody asks me, I'm just excited that someone shows interest. And I was like, I will teach you whatever you want to know. Like, I all day long. Like, I will show you, I will teach you. Um, but yeah, definitely making connections, because those people, you just never know what jobs they're going to be on and what that could take you. And if they remember that, you went and got them their favorite Diet Coke or whatever, they're like, oh, I want this person.
you
I'm like,
remembered that they like Diet
they
Coke
give me
and
my Diet Coke.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I still remember people's food orders,
yeah,
like, I know Travis Andrews, DP, hates tomatoes. I know that, Mike Harrison only drinks caffeine free Diet Pepsi, which is the weirdest drink anybody's ever liked. So it's, just things like that, like small little details, mean a lot in production, because when you're there on set, you don't have a lot of, actually, those little things mean so much. Like, just little things that you like and that people can do for you. Um, Even if you just like help them, like, oh, let me grab your bag, or, it just, I think as a PA, just always looking for something, like
pay
never just
attention.
stand there. Like, it drives me crazy when I have PAs. Like, if I have to open a cooler and there's no water, and I'm like, why is there no water? And like, now we're in trouble because people are
Yeah,
like, we need water. It's like, you should have, like, that's, you should
right.
just, you should know that this guy's holding this 50-pound camera and he's probably going to need some water after that. Like,
Yeah, it was we had about 50 people at this PA workshop and it was really well done. We broke them up into production offices and a virtual set and grip and lighting and craft services, and so we had them go through the whole thing where they could, kind of get a feel for what everybody what the job was. And so if you go through that PA handbook, you'll see it that's a new thing for me. I'm just getting into it. Tommy will tell you that we're now experimenting with Google Notebook LM to do videos and slide decks and stuff like that. And it was all created in like 3 days. So I did the 200 book ebook in 3 days. That is a visual ebook on how to be a PA. And so yeah, I've got tons of requests for it already. So it's pretty cool.
That was
Let's
awesome.
see. DIT thanks. Tommy Dennis. Anybody have any questions? I know Tommy, were you asking what a DIT was?
I was asking for the students,
Oh, what a DIT is. Yeah.
the
Uh,
acronym. Yeah.
Digital imaging technician.
yeah,
There you
and
go.
they're the person
Beautiful.
who's in
Thank you.
charge and taking all the media, gathering all the media, and then uh, logging it and labeling it and getting it ready to go back to post. So
Mhm.
from the field to post, that's kind of the thing. Advanced DITs will also do color shading and looks on a camera. They'll set up the LUT and stuff like that. So yeah, there are different versions of DITs depending on the types of shoots that you're on. Yeah.
Yep. So they're the ones out in the field with you or on set with you.
Again, one of the most important
Yeah.
jobs on the set, I think. Yeah.
I mean, we had that problem. We shot with the red the last couple days, just because we were trying to match stuff from a previous video, and like that last file was corrupt, and he was like, "I'm gonna take this card home. I'm gonna try." And I don't know what he did, but it worked.
It worked. Yeah. It's always great. Anybody else have any questions?
I do. What was the name of the website, Randy, you mentioned? We are
We are DCBS. We are
DCBS.
DCBS. Yeah.
Okay. I
That
put
and on that you'll find all the past live from the hives and DC buzzes and bios of we do videos of all the instructors, and there's also our mentor program. We have a student mentor program that advanced students come back and mentor younger students coming in. So
Oh,
it's
that's
pretty
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, it's we are a rock and roll, a degree program here. We kind of rock it out. We have really good people, and we yeah our management here is just like, I can't stress how good a place this is to work from a creative standpoint. They listen to everybody. And it's really kind of fun to be able to create here. So it's the best of both worlds for me. And they encourage us to go out and work on shoots all the time to keep current. Yeah. Fran, do you have any other questions before you go? No.
Do you guys have an
Yep.
LED wall?
Do
Is,
what?
you guys have an LED wall?
We do. We were the first school in the United States to have a volume. So we have a 180-degree volume with a thing. It's called V1.
Mm.
And the guy used to actually teach this class that I teach is in charge of it now. And we do all kinds of stuff. And you can use it as an instructor. You can go in and do instructional videos, but we also bring in a lot of outside clients in there. We have, I think, 13 stages here. We have a drone school now that we just started. We have a volume stage. We have a smaller, kind of a virtual stage, the green screen type of thing. We have podcast rooms. We have giant mixing rooms. We have we have an immersive video room studio that we just opened up, and we're getting ready to do all kinds of really cool things. So if you haven't been here in a while, it's a wild place. We've got all kinds of cool stuff. Um, Ada, do you have any questions? I know you missed most of it, but it's recorded, and we'll get that out to you. But make sure you check out. It'll be posted within the week here, and once this goes out to our DCBS students, then it goes out to on Full Sail One, which is our industry, our school website, um, and so all 20,000 students will have access to it at that point. So. We got a lot of responses back from people who are watching it. Anybody else have any questions? Tommy, any other questions?
No, I'm not. I just wanted to thank Courtney. Very,
Yeah.
very, thank you so much for saying what you did. towards the end there about showing up with a smile and wanting to be there the whole time. And again, don't talk about anybody when you're on set because it's nepotism. I mean, I started with Martin Piccinini and Chiba and all
Yeah.
Bob Beverly, all these guys, and they're all connected. And you don't say a word. I've seen PAs from schools get thrown out. Tommy Henson actually grabbed one and threw him off the set. So I love what you're saying. And I think it's 100% true. And if anybody, I mean, you take something out of this, and that's the big thing right there. I appreciate you.
Yeah, because that's the first thing too. Is like that. I remember all the PAs I will never hire again, or anybody. Just based off their attitude. And when someone brings up their name, I'm like, ooh, that one time, and it could have just been that one time that that person was having a bad day, unfortunately. But fortunately, that was the day that you know, that's the day I remember. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And so
it's
where you were at that time, that was like a meal for PAs. We had tons and tons of PAs, new, fresh out of the off the boat kind of PAs coming in out of school
Yeah,
or not into
reality
school.
TV had just started. I mean,
Yeah.
the competition was so rough when I started that they did. I mean, they didn't care about you, obviously, because there were so many. I mean, if you didn't like one little thing and you're like even voiced it, gone because there's 10 other people, 100 other people trying. There's actually signs hung up all over the office that said PAs a dime a dozen. And it would remind you every single day that like you need to be on it, you need to love it, you want to be here because there's 10 other people that want your position and they'll do it probably for less money.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that's why I titled my book Super PA, because you gotta have that attitude where you're gonna come in and we tell people, look, PA is one of those positions where, like you spent a year transcribing, but look how much you learned. But you were wise enough to realize that you could get a lot out of that. But you were basically on the set with everybody, but in the comfort of sitting in a chair, listening to all that stuff. And
I
so it's
know.
it's it's a learning experience. That's it. And so we tell people that all the time. If you don't be a PA and think you're going to be a producer in 2 months. It's not going to happen. Okay, be a PA for a year. Use it as a school. Think about PA as a film school where you're learning about everything. And we tell them, meet everybody on the set. Take people coffee. Ask them what kind of coffee they want to know. Make a little note of it and remember that stuff. And then the next day that you're on there, take them that coffee, and they're like, that person's got it. And that's what it takes. So once you get, I always say to people, go up and make friends with the grips. If you can make friends with the grips, then you're good.
The toughest ones.
Yeah, yeah, they're the toughest ones, and so that's all part of it, and it's just like a whole attitude is, you know,
Yeah.
keep your mouth shut and keep your eyes open and pay attention. That's it.
Don't give up. If someone yells at you and screams at you in your face,
Yeah,
which
we
I
talk
don't
a
know,
lot about
I don't
that.
know if people do that anymore. Like I feel like
Yeah,
times have changed, but just even if you're going in your car and cried it out, just come back. So
yeah,
many people have left and never come back, and it's just like, listen,
yeah.
you don't
It's
understand everybody what they're going through, stuff at home, and you don't want to lose your career because
it's
some
stressful.
bad producers still end up in very high positions and they're terrible. And you're just like, how did you get here?
Yeah,
I mean, there's been so many that I've come face to face with. I mean, I know of at least 2 to 3 that I've actually like got them kicked off of a show because of the situation. Oh, iPhone 199
uh,
has one.
somebody have a question on iPhone?
Yes, actually, I do. I don't know if you can see me. I'm sorry. I was trying to
Yeah,
be
we can
as
see you now.
respectful as I possibly could, but thank you so much for this. This is awesome. And I just wanted to say for someone who is just starting out and aspires to, one day wanting to be, to be a producer, if there was one single most thing that you could share with us, what would it be that would enable us to be just that one step farther ahead than someone else who's just starting out as well that you could share with me that you would just want us to know that you wish someone would have shared with you when you first started out?
It's a really tough one.
I can tell you what
I'm
I
sorry.
my my dad used to tell me this all the time, and it never really stuck with me because I was a kid, and he used to say to me, if you want to be successful, make yourself useful to other people. And I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. And then I got into production. I was like, yeah, that's the key. Make yourself useful to other people. And I've hired people, believe it or not, because on their business card it said, my job is to make you look good. I was like, bring that person on, you know. So it's that whole thing that we just talked about, you know, being open and willing to learn and, you know enough to know there's a lot you don't know and keep your mouth shut and your eyes open and then pay attention, you know. Paying
Yeah.
attention is a big thing, you know.
Yeah. Always, not always be eavesdropping, but like always just be alert, listen to what people are saying. I always tell people you don't know what you don't know. I actually got that from Robin Cohen.
Hmm.
Um, but I think like being a successful producer, I just is because of I feel like I've learned a lot of almost every position. So, like a lot of times, like if
That
someone
is.
tells me something, I'm like, I know that's BS and I know that's not true because I ran a gear room for a year. Like,
Yeah.
just knowing even just a little bit of every single thing that, you can get on the phone with, a DP and he's asking for all these things that are out of your budget. And you're like, yeah, but do you really need that? Because
So so you're
I
a dangerous producer. You're yeah. Yeah.
so um yeah, just learn a little bit of everything, like learn what's in an audio bag that you need to rent, eight lavs or eight channels or eight and a boom and the mixer and just what's ever in the package, and that way you know what they use, how much it's going to cost at a rental house, if someone's overcharging you, when you ask them what their gear rental rate is, or you'll just know what you need, what you don't need. You'll know if their gear is good or not. If someone's coming in with electrosonics, you're like, great, this person's put a lot of money into their gear. It's going to be top notch. They got the Country One mics that they're not using
Yeah. Instead
Sennheisers.
of, oh yeah,
Anything.
I got wireless mics. They're DJI. It's like,
Yeah, like today someone was like, "Do you want a Comtac?" And I was like, "Wait, what's a Comtac?" And it's like, "Oh, you mean like the IFB?" Like, got it. I was like, "Okay, sure."
yeah. So where are you at in the program right now?
I am literally Professor Baker, Anthony Bowden. After I take your class, I am three classes left. I graduate in July.
Oh, great, great. And you made it through my class, so that was the hard part. Yeah.
That was the toughest class I've ever took, but it was the most important class, in my opinion, that I ever took because that was what shaped me now. I actually just finished shooting a commercial and I just finished on a film, and I'm just excited.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that I would tell people starting out all the time. You know, I was in a workshop Steven Spielberg was speaking at, and a guy stood up next to me, and a young kid, and he said, "How do you become a director?" And he said, "Well, are you directing stuff?" And the kid said, "Yeah, I'm doing short films right now." And he goes, "That's how you become a director. You go out there and do it."
Yeah,
I used to I was we were talking about I started out working with Darden Restaurant when they started doing videos, and there's a story about the very first video we did. We thought it would be cool to do it like MTV style. This is so long ago that it was when MTV had VJs, and we had, people that we hired to come in and do the VJs, and we had a in-house, person that was our contact there, and we did this, and we did the video, and everybody loved it, and it was for that specific age group for people from, restaurants that were like 18, 19 years old. And then they sent it up we shot the whole thing, edited the whole thing, and they sent it up to corporate, and the president of the company hated it. He had all the copies of it brought back into the company, and he burned them all. So he burned them, but that was my very first big corporate gig. Um, so I learned a valuable lesson about getting, knowing who got to approve things. But, after that, it was like, the guy who started Darden, his big saying was, "It's not the knowing, it's the doing." And I used to argue with him all the time, saying, "No, I disagree with you. It's the knowing and the doing." Never stop learning. It's, you got to be a lifelong learner, and then you just, have an idea what you want to do, and then try to sit down and make a path of where you want to go and how do you want to get there. It's not that difficult. But for, like people like Courtney, the reason that I really wanted to bring Courtney in, besides she's one of my favorite people in the world, is that she's one of those people, you won't meet many producers like her who know all this stuff. Most people, most producers, come up through that thing where they're just an office PA and they do, deliverables, and they go into as an assistant coordinator, then a coordinator, then an assistant production manager, and a production manager, and eventually work up the way up. They don't know gear. The good ones know, enough to know what to ask for, and the rental companies, and all that stuff. Courtney's a little bit different. She's like she knows everything, so it's great to have somebody like her to talk to about these things from a student standpoint.
Do the nerves ever go away? Do you still get nervous? Because I don't know why I still do, but do they?
I didn't sleep at all on Monday night because Tuesday I had to get up at 3 a.m. to leave my house at 4 to be on set at 5. And I don't think I slept because I was just constantly like running through my head, whether like, do I have every single thing? I mean, it's just a million things for this shoot. And no, yeah, I get nervous all the time. But it's usually just day one. Then the next couple of days, I'm like, all right, everyone's fine. Nothing caught fire. Nobody died. Nobody, we had
Yeah.
enough lunch for everybody. That's the biggest thing. Like, don't ever under order lunch. Like, if you run out of food, oh, people will hate you forever.
Yeah, that was a big thing in the PA workshop is taking care of your crew.
Food and crafty is like the only thing that you can give somebody on set. Like, when you're in the thick of it, it's like the only thing you can offer them because, you're wherever you are. And man, you don't want to run out of some protein and stuff. Like,
Yeah, and I'm usually nervous for the first hour, and then you jump into it, and you're so busy that the nerves go away, and just
Okay.
the experience kicks in, and you're going, okay, we got this. So
yeah.
Okay.
yeah, I think if you show up and not a little nervous, there's
You
probably
don't care
something
enough.
wrong.
You don't
Yeah,
care enough. You're not
yeah,
passionate enough about what you're
yeah,
doing,
yeah.
for sure.
Cool.
Hmm.
Okay, well that's about our hour. Anybody else have any questions before we go? Okay, cool. Well, Courtney, I can't thank you enough, my friend, for coming and doing this for me. I owe you big time. And
Visit,
so,
visit, check out.
yeah, next time in Lakeland, we'll have to. I go to Lakeland once a month to eat at the restaurant downtown. The well, it caught on fire and it's back open now. The New Orleans style restaurant,
Oh.
right on the square downtown.
I mean, well, I even though I work there and I'm all over that place, it's mostly public stuff, but I'm moving there soon to be closer to work.
Lakeland?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll get to learn it. And
Harper's still there.
who's Harper?
Um, uh, what's his first name? He dated one of the producers at Pink Sneakers, Jason Harper.
I don't,
Do you remember Jason? He was a producer that worked on some shows, director worked on some shows at Pink Sneakers. He runs a couple orphanages in Ukraine and he speaks like 5 different languages, graduated from Harvard. He teaches, tactical driving to he's a guy you got to meet there. Yeah.
I
Jason
feel
Harper.
like he's somebody's father-in-law.
Yeah.
We use a place called In Focus Studios a lot because our production studio has been being built since before they hired me a couple of years ago. Various things have set it back. But for the past, I don't know how long, we've been using In Focus for a lot of our stuff. They have a psych wall and stuff like that. And the guy Martin that works there, he always says like, "Oh, my father-in-law he was a story producer or something for Hogan Knows Best." And I was like, "What? Small world." But
Yeah.
maybe that's him.
Yeah. Might have been Jason. Yeah. Cool. Well,
Not
again,
small world
Courtney,
in the
yeah, thank you so much. I owe you lunch and we'll get together soon, but it's so good to see you again, my friend, and thanks for coming out and doing this. And thanks for
end.
everybody coming out tonight. I appreciate it. Okay.
All right, bye guys.
See you everybody. Okay. Bye.